Every day on this channel, I cover everything Elon says on X in the last 24 hours. And here's how many times Elon posted about each subject today. I will cover everything he said about each topic before moving on to the next one. And starting with Tesla, Teslaconomics said, wait, am I able to text and drive on full self-driving version 14.2.1? I've been on my phone for an extended period of time. And Elon said, depending on context of surrounding traffic, yes. And Hans Nelson had his first long road trip experience on V14 over the past week. It drove over 99.9% of all the miles for the whole trip. He says, holy smokes, it was so good. I don't care how fast an internal combustion engine car can fuel up. I never want to drive that far without Tesla FSD again. So Elon quoted that saying, Tesla self-driving. And the mayor of Rome tries Tesla's full self-driving in the Eternal City. Just beautiful. And Tesla Europe quoted that and Elon reposted it. Elon also replied to it with an Italian flag. And the Wall Street Journal did a review of Tesla full self-driving, and it seems like it actually might be a positive article. The headline reads, I used to hate driving. A self-driving car finally taught me to let go. And Sawyer posted an excerpt from the article. Driving has always felt like a chore to me. The first time I let the vehicle take control, something shifted. As the car guided itself through traffic, I felt tension melt away. A few days before the federal EV tax credit expired in September, I traded in my 7.5-year-old Model 3 for a Model Y with full self-driving. For someone like me who likes to stay in control, surrender has never come easily. Yet here I was cruising through traffic in quiet surrender to the car's code and sensors. It felt like liberation, and now I have something better than a chauffeur. My car never tires, panics, or wavers. It doesn't jolt at brake lights or grumble at traffic jams. It simply drives, with quiet confidence and near perfect composure. People often worry that technology makes us lazy. Maybe it does. But in my case, it has done something subtler. It taught me to trust in the rhythm of the ride. It's a small miracle I never expected from a car. And Elon quoted that saying, Tesla self-driving is incredible. And Mario says FSD 14.2 drives like your richest friend's chauffeur. This is the chauffeur your bank account could never justify. And Elon reposted it. And let's hear what Jensen said yesterday on Joe Rogan about Elon's robots.
Let's say I'm super excited about the robots Elon's working on. It's still a few years away. When it happens, there's a whole new industry of technicians and people who have to manufacture the robots, right? Mm-hmm. And so that job never existed. And so you're going to have a whole industry of people taking care of, like, for example, all the mechanics and all the people who are building things for cars, supercharging cars. That didn't exist before cars, and now we're going to have robots. You're going to have robot apparels. So a whole industry of, right? Isn't that right? Because I want my robot to look different than your robot. Oh, God. And so you're going to have a whole, apparel industry for robots. You're going to have mechanics for robots, and you have, people who comes and maintain your robots. Don't you think that'll all be automated, though? No.
You don't think so? You don't think that'll be all done by other robots?
Eventually, and then there'll be something else.
And Elon reposted that. And Will says that I think robotics is still underhyped the way AI was underhyped in 2023. Like, sure, it's hyped, but no, you don't get how big it's going to be. And Elon says, yes. Farzad said, guys, I think 2026 is going to be one for the ages. The setup is beyond ridiculous. Just so happens to be America's 250th birthday as well. And Elon again says, yes. But meanwhile, CNBC are now giving tutorials on how to short Tesla via put options. Their traders are in for a nasty shock. CNBC says Tesla faces many challenges heading into the new year, using options to make money on potential declines. Elon said, lol. And Trent says it's -5 degrees Fahrenheit outside, but the truck was 69 degrees inside in just a few minutes. I don't have to scrape any ice off the windshield. There's no cloud of fumes to breathe in from idling. The truck will drive me into town by itself. I don't have to go to a gas station because it charged overnight in the driveway, and I saved nearly $5,000 in gas in the first year. The Cybertruck account says making your life easier in so many ways. And Elon quoted that saying Cybertruck is an incredible vehicle, our best ever from Tesla. And Kaizen quoted that saying going from a Rivian to my Cybertruck was like going from a Razr to an iPhone. Elon said Cybertruck feels like a spaceship. And Elon once said, test drive a Cybertruck. It will blow your mind. And Elon replied to that with an emoji that looks sort of like it's rolling its eyes. And moving on to SpaceX, Elon posted a video of the Raptor V3 engine ascent run. It's a full 6-minute video of validation testing. This is the engine that's going in the Starship V3. And if I fast forward the video for you guys, you can see that it burns for the full 6 minutes. SpaceX said multiple versions of this test will cover the different conditions seen by Starship's 3 inner engines during its initial climb to space. Elon replied saying the most advanced rocket engine ever made by far. Raptor 3 and subsequent versions will make life multiplanetary and progress civilization towards Kardashev 2, meaning that we harvest all of the energy from the sun. And here's the evolution of SpaceX Raptor engines, Raptor 3 being the engine that you just saw, and Elon reposted this. And speaking of harvesting all of the energy of the sun, let's take a look at this clip Elon reposted today.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest source of energy by far is the sun. So nothing even comes close to the sun in terms of energy output. The sun converts over 4 million tons of mass to energy per second, and it's been doing that for a very long time, and will do that for many, many billions of years to come.
And he reposted another clip today on this same topic.
Yes, if civilization continues, which it probably will, then AI in space is inevitable. I always have to preface that, We shouldn't take civilization for granted. We need to make sure to take care to ensure that civilization has an upward arc. I mean, any student of history knows that civilization does not always have an upward arc, and in fact, civilizations have life cycles. So hopefully we are in a strong upward arc. I think we are for now, but we don't want to take that for granted or be complacent. The way to think of AI in space is that in order to achieve any meaningful percentage of a Kardashev 2 scale civilization, where you're using even a millionth of the sun's energy, you must have solar-powered AI satellites in deep space. So that once you think in terms of a Kardashev 2 scale civilization, which is what percentage of the sun's energy are you turning into useful work, then it becomes obvious that space is overwhelmingly what matters.
And Elon also said that as we progress along the Kardashev scale, energy harnessed on Earth will increase 100-fold and will mostly be solar, aka fusion, aka starlight. Then energy harnessed will increase perhaps 1 billion-fold if we make it to Kardashev 2, with space solar power, and another 1 billion-fold with space solar power, and another 1 billion-fold if we harness the energy of our galaxy. What I'm saying is that there is a lot of upside potential, and Elon reposted this. In breaking news today, Elon says Starlink is ready to serve India and is now waiting for final government approval. He asked for public support and earlier said he'll do his best to serve the people of India with Starlink. And Elon reposted this. Here was the original source. He said, "We would love to serve India and are awaiting final approval from the government. Public support for Starlink in India would be much appreciated." And we got that information because today Starlink is now available in South Korea, and someone had asked, when can we expect it in India? And Logic wants to know when in Nigeria. Someone replied saying, it's already available in Nigeria for like 2 years now. Have you been living under a rock? And Elon had a laugh at that one. And World of Statistics posted SpaceX launches by year. There was 0 in 2011, 9 in 2016, 13 launches in 2019, that was 6 years ago. And so far this year there has been 157. And Elon reposted this. And you can experience speeds up to 400 plus megabits per second to enjoy 4K streaming on multiple devices at once, working from home effectively, online gaming, social media browsing, and more. Elon reposted this. And moving on to XAI, Grok 4.1 Fast surges to number 2 on OpenRouter's monthly leaderboard in just 12 days, with a massive 2.7 trillion tokens in usage. And Elon reposted that. Grok also ranked number 1 on CryptoBench. This platform is the first expert benchmark for agents in the crypto industry. It tests abilities like pulling real-time data, making price forecasts, analyzing on-chain data, and spotting risks in decentralized finance. Elon reposted that as well. And you can set Grok tasks and get daily customized deep search info through mail and app notifications. You see Grok notified this person saying, Grok benchmark soar, Optimus runs, your Grok task is ready. Elon quoted that saying, Grok. And Grok 5 is currently training at the supercomputer Colossus Colossus 2, which is the largest and most powerful AI supercluster in the world. Elon quoted that saying, yes. And Grok 4.1 Fast just claimed the top spot for programming use case with Python, with Grok Code Fast 1 taking second place. The Grok duo now leads the entire chart. So Elon quoted that saying, gold and silver medal for Grok. And you can make learning more fun again with the Grok app. You could give your kids good Rudy, and they could explore science, physics, history, and the universe in a playful way. And Elon reposted that. Grok just hit a record 234 million visits in November, with traffic up 15% from October. This marks the first time the site has posted 2 straight months of growth. Momentum is accelerating. Elon said Grok is growing exponentially. And here's a list of the lifetimes of contributors to relativity, with the most recent one being Stephen Hawking. Louis said, one of my favorite tricks when learning a new topic is to ask AI to generate a plot of the lifetimes of the field's major contributors. So Elon replied asking, Grok? And Louis said, yes. In my experience, Grok has the best impactometer. It finds the true key contributors without producing a really long list. And Claude says, introducing Claude Opus 4.5. The best model in the world for coding, agents, and computer use. Opus 4.5 is a step forward in what AI systems can do, and a preview of larger changes to how work gets done. Elon replied saying, just tried it out. Excellent work by Anthropic AI. And X is now the #1 news app in South Korea, and Elon reposted this. And moving on to politics, today the Department of State posted, this morning, the State Department renamed the former Institute of Peace to reflect the greatest dealmaker in our nation's history. Welcome to the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. The best is yet to come. Elon replied with an American flag. The White House quoted it saying, the peace president, and Elon replied with 2 American flags. Now let's hear what Jensen had to say about Trump.
And we started out today talking about President Trump, and I was about to say something. He is my president. He is our president. We should all, and we're talking about just because it's President Trump, we all want him to be wrong. In the United States, we all have to realize he is our president. We want him to succeed because
no matter who's president,
that's
we should have
right.
that attitude. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We want him to succeed. We need to help him succeed because it helps everybody, all of us succeed.
And Elon reposted that. And the Department of Homeland Security says, write the next chapter of America. If you are a legal professional, join the Department of Justice as a deportation judge to preside over cases and determine whether an alien must stay or leave our nation. Make decisions with generational consequences. Joe Gebbia quoted it saying, the nation's call to adventure for lawyers. And Elon reposted it. And the state of Indiana is moving to impeach rogue judges and prosecutors. Mario says, finally, real teeth for public safety. This is the accountability people have been screaming for. Elon says it has to be done nationwide. And the New York Post said that chilling new details emerge about killer illegal migrants sprung from New York jails instead of being handed off to Immigration Customs Enforcement. Brian Dean Wright quoted it saying Trump wanted to put an ICE office in Rikers prison to find and deport these illegals. Democrats sued to stop it. Democrat Judge Mary Rosado ruled for her party. The illegals were released. Here's the result. So Joe Gebbia quoted that saying the left are so unrecognizably far from the plot that they sued to release 29 killers from prison into New York just to protect them from deportation. The total number of criminals released is insane. The men are just 2 of the 6,947 criminals released from New York jails in the past year, despite having active ICE detainers requesting they be handed over to immigration authorities for deportation. And Elon reposted that. And Governor Newsom is refusing to honor the ICE detainer for an illegal alien who killed an 11-year-old boy. It was a hit and run. When will Governor Newsom stop releasing criminals into our neighborhoods and putting American lives at risk? Elon replied with an exclamation mark. Mila says, I show my ID to fly. I show my ID to drink. I show my ID to drive. I show my ID to marry. I show my ID to buy weed. I show my ID to gamble. I show my ID to get Benadryl. I show my ID to work. Why in the hell wouldn't I need an ID to vote? Elon said because they want to commit voting fraud. And this chart shows states granting undocumented immigrants driving privileges. So Ron DeSantis says they give drivers licenses because it makes it easier to register the illegals to vote. Purely political operation. Elon said 100. And Rothmus says that back in 2024, people on the left were saying that illegals don't use benefits. But now in 2025, they're saying, how dare Trump take their benefits? Narrative shift complete. Elon said, this literally happened. Matt Van Swoel said, we have no responsibility to serve as the world's repository for those who hate our country. The first job of government is to protect its citizens. Everything else is secondary. That's the entire point of the America First movement. And Elon reposted that. And he also reposted a quote from Tacitus saying, the more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws. In Minneapolis, news anchor Jana Shortal looked to be on the verge of tears last night after Trump said he doesn't want Somalis in the U.S.
The vast majority of Somali folks here are American citizens. They're people who fled war in their country as refugees to start a new life. Once upon a time, that was a story America liked to tell about itself. Hell, it's emblazoned on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. To breathe free. Minnesotans by the thousands cannot tonight. Perhaps sitting in fear, even with legal status, and that their president called them garbage. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.
Nathan quoted that saying, this refugee thing is a big lie. Somalis in Minnesota travel back and forth to Somalia constantly. Just a big lie. Elon said 100. And Gad Saad posted a 21-minute video explaining Donald Trump's Somalia is garbage comment. He said, I conducted an analysis with the help of Grok of the Corruption Perceptions Index, which has ranked roughly 180 countries in terms of their endemic corruption starting in 1995. Would you like to guess where Somalia ranks? I'll put a link to this for you guys in the description. And here's what the Minnesota governor has to say about this whole Trump and Somalia situation.
You know, this vile, racist stream of consciousness from President Old Man Yells at Cloud. You're disgusting. And the people of this country deserve so much better. I just watched the video of Donald Trump attacking the beautiful Somali community that calls Minnesota home. They are part of the fabric of our state. I'm literally going down Lake Street right now, which is one of the hearts of the Somali community. These are teachers and nurses and neighbors and mayors and our friends. And we are going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors. And that's just who we are as Minnesotans and what we're going to do.
Elon replied to that saying, she's a traitor to America. And here's Kristi Noem on Minnesota.
You told me to look into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs. 50% of them are fraudulent, which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose. And I think he's both, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back.
Elon said, wow. And Joe Rogan is using his platform to raise awareness that Minnesota Democrats are rigging their elections by allowing illegals to vote with their issued driver's licenses.
That just happened a couple of days ago.
Find it.
Yeah, I'll find it.
I'll check on Twitter.
Illegal.
I have to say I find it very hard to believe that.
Me too, but not, because I think that what I was getting at is a lot of the reason for wanting an open border is congressional seats. Because one of the things about when you do a census, it doesn't count how many people are citizens, it counts how many people. And so you can get extra congressional seats if you have more illegal immigrants in your city. And you have much more political power that way.
But why do you get more seats if they can't vote?
It's just how it works. It's just how it's the way our census is set up. So the way a census is set up, it's just counting people. It's not counting people that are legally here.
The census. Okay.
Yes. So the census is how they dictate the amount of congressional seats.
Here's what was going around Twitter.
Okay, Minnesota elections confirms non-citizens can vote with driver's licenses. October 14, 25, this is it. State hearing, Minnesota Director Elections Paul Linnell testified that non-citizens holding driver's licenses under the 2023 Driver's Licenses for All law can register to vote and cast ballots by affirming eligibility, as the ID verifies identity but not citizenship.
And Elon reposted that. And Ben Stiller said Somalis are not garbage. Immigrants and refugees from anywhere are people like you and me. They should not be demonized. This country is built on the backs of people who have come from other places. It's what our country is all about. Gad Saad said, "Thank you, Ben, for bathing in the warm infinity pool of suicidal empathy," asking, "Are you retarded?" Elon replied saying, "True, sigh." Now, Elon has not commented on this, but because we keep coming back to Trump saying that Somalians are garbage, let's check out the clip of exactly what he said.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much, everybody.
So there you have it. And so then News Baron replied to Ben Stiller saying that you are one sick man, quoting this video.
Get out and vote and donate. And she's also a historic candidate. You know, it's going to be the first woman president. And that's incredibly exciting. And, you know, she's Indian, she's black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black. You know, it's just get out there and vote and donate and like take advantage. This is such an important time right now. And this wave of energy that's happening, we got to keep going with it. So please do everything you can.
Elon replied to that saying, comedy gold. Jefferson responded to Ben Stiller saying, you live in a castle behind a wall far away from perpetual third world scammers. Ben Stiller said, I live in Manhattan. Art asked Grok, how many Somalians live in Manhattan? Grok said about 3,232. Carlita said, Grok, does Ben Stiller still own property in Kauai in addition to his very expensive Manhattan apartment? Grok said, yes. Ben Stiller still owns a 14-acre property in Kauai, purchased in 2022 for $8.5 million. Carlita says, Grok, how many Somalian refugees could theoretically live on Ben Stiller's properties? Grok says, theoretically, Ben Stiller's 14-acre Kauai property could house around 700 Somali refugees at typical camp density. His Manhattan apartment might fit 50 more in tight quarters. This assumes basic shelter, no luxuries. Purely hypothetical. Elon said, plenty of room. Uncommon Sense said, Ghana is too black. We need to diversify it by putting more Mexicans in it. If you disagree, you're a racist. Seems weird when you change the countries and races around, doesn't it? Elon said, indeed, it is hypocritical. And in this insulting advertisement from SAS, they say that absolutely nothing is really Scandinavian. It's all really from somewhere else. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, they have this black guy saying, we are no better than our Viking ancestors. What? Drew said the leftist idea that Europeans are not allowed to have a distinctive culture of their own is insane. Elon said utterly insane and deeply morally wrong. Tim Young says liberalism, when you hate white males but also want to look exactly like a white male. Elon said bullseye. And the other day, Elon said Jews are white, if not peak white. And readers added context saying while there's many white Jews, Jews are not white. Jews are very diverse. So Drew said the modern radical left hates Jews because they hate the West, and they consider Jews part of the West. Elon said again, bullseye. Drew then said the far left believes killing Israelis is justified because they see Israelis as white Westerners. And Elon said again, bullseye. And Jeremy said, as a white mom, your children will be substantially and systematically discriminated against by medical schools simply for being white. This is not something that should be ignored just because it's an uncomfortable subject. You can see percent accepted being black, Hispanic, white, or Asian. Elon said, true. And doctors admit to performing non-standard gender-affirming surgeries on youth, including castrations. Seth Dillon says, we were told it wasn't happening. In fact, we were called stochastic terrorists for reporting that it was happening, and Elon reposted that. And viewer discretion is advised for this next section. Yesterday we looked at the sentencing remarks in Rotherham grooming gangs cases and how they read like wartime atrocities. Today, Raw Egg Nationalist says there's no form of punishment too strong for the perpetrators of these heinous crimes, or the men and women who enabled them. Elon said, yes. And we saw this story a lot about a Somalian who raped a 12-year-old in Minnesota. Someone quoted it saying, mass immigration is a war crime against the American people. Those responsible should be treated accordingly. Elon said, yes. And another man in Minneapolis who kidnapped and raped a woman he met on Snapchat. He was also sentenced in May in 2 previous rape cases but served no prison time. Daniel said, are we now doing the exact same thing the UK did? Elon said, yeah. And the LBC posted that Axel is living in prison hell as the killer faces 52 years in solitary with inmates and guards showing no mercy. Captive Dreamer said, context, he stabbed 3 children to death. And Elon replied with 2 exclamation marks. Libs of TikTok says all of our crime statistics are skewed against white people, as all these criminals were listed as being white. Matt Van Swol said whatever the white crime rate really is, it's astronomically lower than you could ever imagine, as all these men were listed as white as well. Elon said yes. And we saw earlier how New York is releasing a lot of these illegal migrant criminals from jail to basically protect them from being deported. Elise says this violent killer stabbed, raped, and murdered a young girl, then killed a baby. Right now, this heinous criminal is in prison where he belongs. Unfortunately for New Yorkers, the worst governor in America's parole board is setting him. Kathy Hochul owns this crime crisis in our state. James Woods says he stabbed, raped, and murdered a young girl, then he killed a baby. New York is setting him free. Why isn't he facing the gallows right now? Elon said, madness. Gad Saad said, I think that it's wrong to implement the precautionary principle when it comes to allowing 100 men to sleep in my children's bedroom. At most, a handful might be pedophiles. It would be wrong to marginalize all of the men only because a few might sodomize my children. I'm willing to risk my children because suicidal empathy. And he says that's how the West thinks about things. And Elon reposted it. An open border. Former Venezuelan intel chief says Maduro exported gangs into the U.S. during Biden's border collapse and has run 2 decades of espionage against America. In a stunning letter obtained by the Dallas Express, Hugo Carvajal, once Maduro's top intelligence chief and a key figure in the Cartel de los Sols, tells President Trump that Venezuela has weaponized cocaine, exported criminal gangs into the U.S., and allowed the armed forces of Colombia, Hezbollah, and Cuban intelligence to operate freely. He alleges decades of espionage inside U.S. installations, Russian tapping proposals, and Smartmatic election manipulation tools exported abroad. Carvajal says the Biden-Harris border collapse allowed Venezuelan operatives to enter the U.S. and asserts Trump's hardline policies were not only correct, act, but necessary for American national security. Joe Gebbia quoted that saying the difference between a conspiracy and reality is somewhere between 6 to 12 months. Elon said, yeah. And over in the UK, a Wales judge, Tracy Clark, who previously freed a 33-year-old man convicted of raping a girl under 14 due to prison overcrowding, has now sentenced a British man to 20 months in jail over a post on X. He said, if you're a white dude apologizing for saying nigger, you're a faggot. Hodge twins said, can't let this happen here. The UK is a police state. Elon said, the UK is a police state. And over in Ireland, a Christian school teacher, Enoch Burke, sentenced to life in prison for transphobia. Basil the Great says he refuses to bow, he refuses to be silenced, he refuses to submit to trans ideology. All of this started because he refused to use a child's nonsense they-them pronouns. He will be vindicated one day. Elon said he will be freed one day. And Basil the Great also showcases a list of dictators who abolished jury trials. Across history, from Mussolini and Hitler to many tyrants who have rushed to kill jury trial rights. Now in 2025, the UK risks joining a grim roll call with Keir Starmer. Labour must be stopped. Elon quoted that saying, and a US official is blasting UK's Online Safety Act, calling it a deal breaker for American free speech. She says the UK's Online Safety Act is vastly overreaching and a form of cross-border censorship disguised as child protection. It's not about safety, it's about control, and it doesn't stop at your borders. The act compels tech giants like Meta, Google, and X to scan private messages and delete harmful material, or face fines up to 10% of global revenue. The Undersecretary says this directly undermines the First Amendment by forcing US companies to censor lawful speech inside America to satisfy British regulators. This isn't just about the UK, it's about the precedent. If American tech companies bend to foreign speech laws, every authoritarian government on the planet will demand the same treatment. The EU already tried it with the Digital Services Act. Now Britain is pushing further. The Trump administration is drawing a line. American companies will not be weaponized to enforce foreign censorship regimes. And Elon reposted it. And Open Justice UK said today, we're releasing the first tranche of the redacted grooming gang sentencing remarks. 5 of them from Rotherham, dating back to 2016. Available to read now at transcripts.openjusticeuk.org. Elon quoted that saying, war crimes. And about the grooming gangs, Alex Phillips says the entire world needs to know what has happened in Britain. They need to know how politicians covered it up. They need to know how police covered it up. They need to know it is still happening. For the sake of those girls, and girls still being abused now, I plead, please share this. Share with your presidents, prime ministers, the UN. They are torturing and raping our girls. Something has to happen. Please help, because our government is refusing to. And Elon quoted that saying, yes. And you know, Elon said the UK is a police state, but Peter McCormack said this is silly by Elon. He thinks that just because we've criminalized speech, logged non-crime hate incidents, rolled out mass surveillance, expanded the Investigatory Powers Act, added facial recognition, censored the internet, eroded away jury trials, tried a bit of pre-crime policing, cracked down on protests and toughened the Public Order Act and pushed digital ID, centralized identity systems, let Quangos run government, politicized policing, and quietly sidelined democratic oversight, that we're living in a police state. Calm down, mate. Government is keeping us safe from ourselves. And Elon had a laugh at that one. And Elon recently shared some of his latest media recommendations in a new interview. What I'll do is play the audio, and I'll keep the actual recommendations on screen.
I generally try to listen to read as many history books and listen to as many history podcasts as possible.
Anything you'd like to recommend?
Well, there's Hardcore History, which is quite good, with by Dan Collin. He's got
I've read it. I've heard it.
It's very he's got a great voice.
Yeah.
And very compelling narrator. There's the Adventurers podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's the books, The Story of Civilization by Durant, which is a long series of books, very, very deep. Those books take a long time to get through. There's a lot out there. I sort of like, if you want something that's sort of gentle, a gentle bedtime podcast, I'd say The History of English is quite a nice one, because it starts off with like gentle tavern music and a very pleasant voice, and he's like talking about the story of Old English and then Middle English and then later English, and And where did all these words come from?
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things about English is that it's somewhat of an open source language. Like it actively tried to incorporate words.
And Elon reposted that. And here's Jensen talking about Elon.
These AI supercomputers are complicated things. Yeah. The technology is complicated. Procuring it is complicated because of financing issues. Securing the land power and shell powering it is complicated. Building it all, bringing it all up. I mean, this is unquestionably the most complex systems problem humanity has ever endeavored. And so Elon has a great advantage that in his head, all of these systems are interoperating, and the interdependencies resides in one head,
yes,
including the financing.
Yes.
And so
he's a big GPT. Yeah. He's a big supercomputer himself.
He's the ultimate GPU. Yeah. Yeah. And so he has a great advantage there.
Yeah.
And he has a great sense of urgency. He has a real desire to build it. And so when will comes together with skill,
yeah,
unbelievable things can happen.
And Elon reposted that. And Elon once said, "I think if you aspire to do true work, your probability of success is much higher. Don't aspire to glory, aspire to work." And he reposted that today as well. And here's Jensen talking about the first time ever that Elon Musk asked for his chips.
Nobody in the world wanted it. I had no purchase orders, not one. Nobody wanted to buy it. Nobody wanted to be part of it, except for Elon. He was at the event, and we were doing a fireside chat about the future of self-driving cars. And he goes, "You know what? I have a company that could really use this." And I said, "Wow, my first customer." And so I was pretty excited about it. And he goes, "Yeah, we have this company. It's a nonprofit company." And all the blood drained out of my face. I just spent a few $1 billion building this thing. It cost $300,000. And, the chances of a nonprofit being able to pay for this thing is approximately zero. And he goes, "This is it's an AI company, and it's a nonprofit, and we could really use one of these supercomputers." And so I picked it up. I built the first one for ourselves. We're using it inside the company. I boxed one up. I drove it up to San Francisco, and I delivered it to Elon in 2016. And I walk up to the second floor where they were all kind of in a room, this smaller than your place here. And that place turned out to have been OpenAI.
And Elon reposted that. And humanity has so thoroughly banished hunger that as of this year, there are more obese kids than there are underweight kids. It's a historic flip in child malnutrition. And this is the first time in history that this has happened. Elon said, "Yup." And just in, Swedish police have now released a new list of no-go zones. They have increased, and there's now a whopping 65 no-go zones in the country. These are zones that are characterized by high crime and parallel societies. It's fueling debates on immigration's role in rising gang violence, and Sweden has experienced a shift from a top global safety ranking to Europe's highest rape and explosive attack rates per capita. And Elon reposted this. Now it's time for a quick Grok Imagine slideshow of all the creations that Elon reposted today. That is everything that Elon said today. Depending on the traffic, you can now text on FSD 14.2.1. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been doing it, and it works. Also, Jensen's been talking about all the businesses that are going to come up as a result of the humanoid robot revolution. If anybody's working on a big machine that you just put an Optimus in one end and it comes out the other end wrapped how you design it or how you want it, I would be interested in working on that and investing in that, whatever. Reach out if you have the expertise or the skills to help build something like that. Elon said space is what matters for getting to Kardashev 2. Illegal migrant criminals are being released from jails in New York back into the streets to avoid deportation. Trump said Somalis are garbage, and we looked at all of the fallout from that. And I'll put that Gad Saad video where he tries to explain what Trump says in the description of this video. And if you guys want early access to these daily videos, or you just want to support the channel, the best way to do so is to join this channel as a member, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.